It's time now for the COVID-19 edition of Abuzz. And this is where we dive into a roundup of some of the hottest issues and also some issues maybe that have been kind of under the radar. We want to kind of shed light on that. And to help us do that, here is David Tizzard. Good morning, David.
Good morning and good morning, listeners.
So we are going to start off with a topic that is very important to most of us, of course, masks. How are you doing with masks?
How am I doing with masks?
Yeah.
Well, I have one here for anybody looking on video as well. I'm keeping up to date with my masks. I'm trying to wear them all the time. I see it as almost part of the social contract.
Right.
You have to be doing it.
But with the hotter weather, you're still keeping it on as much?
Absolutely, I have to. I have noticed actually some people say that it damages their complexion, especially with the sweat. And it brings
definite
an
skin
outbreak.
problems
And so
I'm
we're having
experiencing,
those.
yeah.
So there are issues with it. What I would like to say about this is now from Monday, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety has announced that South Koreans or citizens, people living and working in South Korea can buy face masks now any day of the week.
Right.
So this is going back in early March. There were these regulations implemented, which meant we were allowed to buy 2 masks per week at pharmacies on designated days according to
Your birth year. The
birth year,
last
exactly.
digit.
A month later, that changed to 3 per week, but now it's kind
Any
of
day of the
unlimited.
week.
You can do it, go up. And the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety has also said that it's planning to stock up on these masks, about 100 million masks, in case of any sort of second peaks or outbreaks that might come in the autumn.
Right. I know a lot of people around me who are also just stocking up on these masks as well, because these so-called public masks, they're usually K94 or whatnot.
Yes.
They might be a little bit difficult to breathe with in the hotter weather, but because of this feared second wave that everyone is expecting in the
Right.
fall and winter, they just want to stock up on that in advance.
Yes.
So starting this Monday, yes, you can buy up to 3 masks on any day of the week. And if you're younger than 18, I believe you can get 5 as well. So that is good news. So it's not just the government. I know a lot of people are stocking up on those masks even now.
A lot of people are, and that's a good thing. I would just like to perhaps address the role of the government in all this, because I believe that they've played a huge part in allowing us to get these masks. So by the end of February this year, the Korean government was saying that it was going to purchase 50% of these KF94 masks from the nation's manufacturers and then sell them at a reasonable price that
Right.
people could access. Then on March the 5th, the government increased its share of mask purchases to 80%. So the government is buying these masks and then making them available for people.
So they can control the supply, right?
So they can control the supply. So kind of it's going past capitalism. It's not allowing the open market to work. And that has been really effective because we see other countries. My mother in England works for the NHS and is an essential worker. Doesn't have a mask.
No.
She has to have homemade masks. We can't send her. She can't order any. And when you see that discrepancy, when you see the difference between what we're living through in South Korea here, which is not perfect, let's say, but when I see that difference, I realize that the government has played an important role, and it has done that not just by letting everybody do what they want, but by implementing measures, by buying these, and not just letting capitalism run through,
Right.
but controlling it. And I think that's been very important.
That is quite shocking. She works at the NHS and she still doesn't have a supply of those surgical, not surgical masks, but the really protective ones.
Yeah.
My words are failing me right now. The ones that she needs to protect herself from
Anything.
potentially sick people.
Anything. So in South
Wow.
Korea, we have a big selection of masks, and different people go with different ones according to their needs or style and such.
Right.
But yeah, any mask she's struggling for.
So we have managed to stabilize the production and also supply of these public masks. Of
Yes.
course, there will always be some people who are unhappy. And I know that one of the complaints has been not so much about the supply now, but it's about the price of these public masks, because each one costs 1,500 won, 1,500. You think, that's not much. It's like half the price of a coffee. But at the same time, it adds up, especially
does.
if you have a family with children.
Yes. Yeah, it really does add up. So if you're buying certain masks, if you've got a family, if you've got a couple of children, this could go up to about 100,000 won, 10만 won per month, which is a lot of money, especially during these times. Starting from tomorrow online, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety has approved thinner, lighter summer masks.
Right.
So not only are they thinner, it might help our skin, but also they're cheaper, and they're about 500 won per mask.
Right.
So that should help financially.
And they are quite effective too. We thought, with the cloth masks, they would only do maybe 20% of the job of these like KF94 masks. But these KF anti-droplet masks will perform up to 50 to 80% of these regular masks as well. So they will be quite effective.
And that's a really good thing. One thing I'd just like to say, masks have become my new umbrella. So I often find myself leaving my car and the mask is in the car. And so I'll nip into a nearest convenience store and buy a new mask. So in my car now, I have about 4 or 5 different masks. But the fact that we can buy them, I believe, means that we should more often.
Definitely. I have one in every bag and every sort of pair of pants as well. Our listener is 3280 tuning in. I was trapped in traffic yesterday in Gangnam, so I was observing people on the streets, and every single person was wearing a mask. It got me thinking if there will ever come a time when we don't need to wear them anymore. Well, it's a good thing that everyone was wearing masks. And I have to say, yes, when will it come when we don't have to wear them? I don't think it'll be anytime soon.
I will say, 3280, that when I'm driving, I don't wear a mask. So if you are seeing people, that's my time to take it off. It's
I have to say, more people are using their private vehicles too. I get the feeling. Although there have not been any cases that I have heard of people contracting the virus on public transportation. So people seem to be doing a good job, who are taking the trains and also taking care of them as well. Let's move on to our next subject. It's about disaster funds. I believe almost everyone now has claimed those disaster funds. The numbers are way up there now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're way up there. So it's been 4 weeks since the first day that people could sign up for these disaster relief funds. We've seen 98.2% of the families and households have signed up. So that's over 21 million people, and it's nearly 13.5 trillion won. And the plan here is not only to help people get through this situation, but also more broadly to try to revitalize the economy, which has really stagnated during this situation.
We're trying to create a virtuous cycle, of course. I understand that people need money to spend, but at the same time, the companies need to have people buying so that they can continue to run and then again employ more people. So it is a virtuous cycle. And this has had a good effect on the economy so far, albeit short.
Yeah, one thing that we have noticed is that consumer confidence index, in Korean that's the Taegam Gyeonggi Jisu, that is increasing each month, and that's a very good thing. However, a lot of these small businesses, so if we stay away from the franchises, but the SMEs, the small medium enterprises and the traditional shops, some of them are saying that their sales are down as much as 80%, which makes it very hard to survive. You have areas such as Myeongdong, which are often reliant on foreign visitors or tourists to do that. However, what we're noticing is that there's a disparity in terms of which ones are thriving and which ones are not.
So even in the same area like Myeongdong, which was thriving, and now, of course, is huge drop in business because of the drop in tourists. But even there, you're seeing some businesses still do well, you're saying?
Yeah. So in a report in the Asia Kyungjae, what we know is that restaurants around the Uljiro section, where you have lots of offices and lots of office workers, at lunchtime they're going out to the restaurants and they're spending their disaster relief funds in these restaurants. So those restaurants are doing really, really well. And what's happening is people are going back to the same restaurant because they know that they can spend their relief money there and there's not any uncomfortable situation. So they might have signs in the window, and these people are becoming repeat customers. So, excuse me, these establishments are really thriving, and yet other ones, perhaps that are selling things, especially in the underground thoroughfares, they're seeing nothing.
Once again, the businesses, I think, that are mostly geared toward foreign tourists, they are very, very hard hit. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to see a recovery in their businesses anytime soon. So these disaster recovery funds may be they need to, I think, maybe through more thoroughly about where they can be spent, and so that it does go to those people who need it most, the businesses that need it most?
It's a very, very difficult thing because as we saw with the first topic with the masks, government intervention and control there actually helped. Here, what do? Do we do a universal application and give it to everybody equally? Or does it need to be more specific and channeled and focused? Because at the moment, what we're seeing, some places are succeeding very well and other places are falling further and further into financial hardship. And the question is, does the country or do the businesses let them fall or does it prop them up? And which is the better alternative in the long run?
I know just personally around me too, people will seem to be spending that money where they used to spend money, in their local shops, supermarkets, or convenience stores as well. So they're using where they usually use their money. Our last topic, we don't have a lot of time, but you wanted to talk about movie theaters. I have not been to a movie theater in a very long time.
Me neither.
So why this?
Well, perhaps that's a good thing. I think that's what I very quickly want to touch on. So the government is now funding discount cinema tickets on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays for the next 3 weeks as part of a campaign to get people back into the theatres. You can get cinema tickets for 6,000 won, won, at these big major multiplex cinemas. However, at the same time, public facilities, rather than the private multiplexes, the public facilities such as museum, art centres, they're being closed because of government regulations.
Shut down again, yes.
So we're seeing this disparity in that the government is encouraging people to go to these big multiplex private cinemas, and admittedly in there they are restricting the number of seats sold in each screening and enforcing various things, food restrictions. But in the public ones, they're forbidding it.
But David, isn't that natural? Because they're not public institutions. They have to make a profit. They've already taken a hit over the past couple of months. So the government is trying to, make sure that they could stay open for business, attract customers. But at the same time, they do have those strict safety guidelines in place as well, and they have to abide by them.
They do. I would suggest, do we really need cinema right now? And I know that's a very big thing. And just remember, a few months ago, Korean cinema was the talk of the world with Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, and it was everything. Right now, with all the technology, is it something that we can live without for a few months? Do we let that industry fail? I think that's a very difficult thing, but health before wealth, is it not?
But it's kind of like sport, isn't it? Maybe it's a sense of normalcy that people miss and need. Just want to introduce a comment by Won-Young Kim through our YouTube. Shutdown of businesses can't be the ultimate solution. I hope the government comes up with new, innovative ways to adjust to the changing environment. And I think that's the key. New, innovative ways. We must adapt to this unprecedented situation. I think that will have to do for today, David. Thank you very much for bringing up those interesting topics.
Thank you.